The Gregory O'Donoghue Poetry Competition attracts on average almost 2,000 poems from all over the world. So against that stiff competition, it's wonderful to see a Munster man come second this year. And a scion of Limerick who exiled himself to Dublin, but like many scions of Munster who exiled themselves to Dublin, we still lay claim to them. Ron Carey winning a poetry prize is no fluke. His first book, published by Revival Press, which is the imprint of the criminally under-resourced Limerick Writers' Centre, is shortlisted for a Forward Prize after its year of publication. Forward Prize, big British accolade, and for a small press that most people in Ireland haven't even heard of, let alone in England, to be selected for a shortlist against books of, from much better known British publishers. That book had to be better than the average book to get on that shortlist. It had to be better than the average book that got on the shortlist to get on that shortlist. So Ron is going to read his second prize poem, and while he does that, I'm going to retrieve a copy of Ron's second book so we can ask him to read 2 more short poems from that book.
I'm desperately trying to think of what the 2 poems I'm going to read. Anyway, I'll find 2. My poem is about borders, and very topical at the moment. As poets, we use words like freedom and liberty. We throw them around quite easily, but when somebody tells you what it really means, when they can drive to a border and actually get through, you really understand what freedom is, and you don't use it so lightly anymore. László, Kovács and his sons crossed the border. The Russian border guards are slow to leave their bewildered prisoners. But for the song, they sell their watches, helmets, and all the gear that turns a man into a soldier and back into a man. When finally they leave, they take everything not nailed down, ripping the light from the walls, the wires, the ceramic toilets, all the forensic evidence of their existence. Days later, László takes his 2 blonde sons from their grey school. Outside, he tries to shake them free, but the grey is inclined to hold on. With some garish manipulation of his hands, he produces 2 white flowers and locates them under the boys' jumpers, under their shirts, up against their hearts. He places the boys in the small metal egg of his car and drives to the border post with Austria, where he crosses and crosses and crosses again, testing their future. Thanks for letting me read from my new book. This is my new book. It's called Racing Down the Sun. That's my grandson. And it's a painting by my son. I like to keep everything in the family. When I was young, I wanted my father to be proud of me, but he was a little worried about me. He thought it was a bit strange, a little bit different, because I wasn't good at the things he was good at, building walls and fixing things and electrical stuff and stuff like that. So I wanted to try and prove that I could do that sort of stuff. So I asked him, could I help him to lay a path? It was a weekend job for one of the well-to-do families in Limerick. The long path. Once in summer, when my father was a bear and I was a Russian poem to imperfect youth. The sun came close to the earth, and we stripped down to trousers and Wellington boots to lay a footpath in the tight garden of the Strand. My father was young then, full in the wonder of manhood, muscle, and the loneliness of men. Unified by the sweat of work, we lightly touched some kind of understanding, no more or less. At midday, Mrs. Burke brought a jug of lemonade, profoundly cold, with deep green islands of lime, thick and loose in the slob of melting icebergs. At the hose, we washed away the abrasive dust, both our heads prematurely twinned in grey. "You're burned to a crisp," my father said, pointing to my back. Turning the crucified skin between my shoulders, I cried out. All that afternoon, in the chill of Burke's kitchen, overpowered by chamomile, I listened to the hired mixer beat sand and cement to concrete in his iron heart. We went to holidays to Mayo this year, and just as we got there, the summer decided to end. But Mayo is beautiful, but driving in those small roads in the rain, it's driving rain through Mayo. It was one of those days when God forgot he had created life. We followed the graphite road, penciling its determined way across Mayo. The mist rolled back in its vagueness, and the car shot through as if we knew exactly where we were going, and we might be able to return. Townlands and parishes changed their names as we drove, defying childhood Irish. In thornbush and furze, birds cowled under unmanageable tonnage. Feathered in a sheen of permanent rain, tongueless crows watched us, eyed diamante. Beak-boiled sheep, watered out in shag wool, appeared and disappeared under the pulsing clouds as we drove on, beyond the innocence of living. And then, from outer space, the sun sent its beams, searching the byways and the hedgerows for wonder, and found it in us. In the simple brilliance of realization, our souls uncoupled their safety belts and floated free. Thank you very much.